What's up? What's up, my people? We are here with episode 5 of Banter from the Bench podcast. Crazy, we're already at 5 episodes now. It feels like we're season vets at this point. But I'm Kevin. I'm here with Sean. Sean, how's the week going, my friend?
Not too bad. Can't complain. 5 episodes in. I don't have a LinkedIn account anymore, but I think I might make one and put my occupation as sports podcaster now at this point. But things are going good. Excited to be here for another episode, per usual.
I already have it on my Instagram, so I'm official. Yeah, man, it's been a week here. We're starting to finally feel the summertime here in Arizona. Today was 109. It feels like it was the first hot day. So we're ready to bunker down and survive the summertime here. But we've definitely got plenty to talk about today. So get ready to tune in. We've got a lot of fun stories for you guys.
Soundstripe.
Welcome back to episode 5 of Banter from the Bench podcast here. Like we always do, we'll get started with our national stories first. And as Kevin alluded to a little bit, it's been a pretty busy week or so in the sports world. Obviously, things have picked up heavily with the NBA Finals starting. Actually, we're recording this on Thursday night. They're starting tonight. Got the Stanley Cup starting on Saturday, so we'll get all into that stuff and plenty more. But first, I want to start off with a little fun exercise here, Kevin. So, over this past week, I saw a story by Sarah Langs on MLB.com talking about the importance of leading your division in June. So, when the calendar flips to June, Sarah Langs found that 59% of division winners since 1996 have been sitting in first place of their division entering the month of June. Now, I'm going to go down the list here. And I'm going to read you the current division leaders, and these are stats as of today, June 6th, so we're a little bit more into the month. I'm going to read them off to you, list their leads, and I want you, when I'm done, to tell me who you think will win the division or who you think will surpass them. So we got about 59%. We'll see if they stick to that number, but here we go. First one is the AL Central, and if you just want to tell me what you think after each one, we can do that. That's probably easiest, and I'll chime in as well. So AL Central right now, we got the Cleveland Guardians with a 5-game lead over the Kansas City Royals and a 7.5-game lead over the Minnesota Twins. What are your thoughts on that? Who's making it out of the AL Central? And before you say it, we know it's not the White Sox, so cross them out.
I'm wearing this hat today. I'm wearing a White Sox hat if you're listening to the audio version in hopes that they lose tonight and set a new losing record. I just want them to break all the losing records. But, yeah, AL Central, I think it's going to be the Guardians. I think that they've just got that division-winning pedigree, and they've had that division-winning pedigree for a little bit. Although I will say I really like the way the Royals play. I wouldn't be shocked if the Royals make a run for it, but here I'm going to say Guardians. They just have a good track record of it.
I'm right there with you. I think that Cleveland has, I believe, 40 wins on the season, which is pretty remarkable, especially with the new manager and Stephen Vogt coming in. And one thing I like about Cleveland is pitching's always really good for them, and actually they aren't fully healthy. Obviously, they lost Shane Bieber for the whole year. They've been without Gavin Williams in their starting rotation as well. So that's 2 big holes for them, and they're still doing really well. Gavin Williams is projected to come back relatively soon, so they'll get him back, and they'll already be adding to a currently well-constructed roster and a team that's been winning. So I think Cleveland will win that too. I'll add to that as well. I think it'll go the current order. I think it'll finish Cleveland, Kansas City, and Minnesota. I think Kansas City might be a year early. Still a lot for them to build on, a lot for them to be excited about, but ultimately I don't think they'll take the Central this year. Heading up next, we have the AL East, where currently the New York Yankees have a 3.5-game lead over the Baltimore Orioles. Kevin, your thoughts on the AL East?
I'm going to say Orioles. I know the Yankees have been on a tear. I know they're playing really good baseball right now. I think the Orioles are going to make a splash at the deadline, and I think that's what's going to get them a division title. So I'm going to say Baltimore Orioles are going to win the AL East this year.
Yep, I'm with you. I swear I was thinking something similar where Baltimore seems a little bit more likely to make a move. Baltimore has a better farm system. They have held over some guys from when they were rebuilding. Obviously, we know they traded for Corbin Burns. Didn't quite cost as much as I thought, but they still have a decent prospect pool to be able to pull off a pretty big move. I think we can maybe see something for them, whether it be pitching or a bat. I'm not 100% sure. But I also feel like Baltimore will surpass the Yankees at some point and win the AL East. Moving on to the next division, we have the AL West, where currently the Seattle Mariners have a 4.5 game lead over the Texas Rangers and a 7-game lead over the Houston Astros. Perhaps one of the most surprising stories of the first half of the season thus far is the Houston Astros have not looked good. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, and Texas really hasn't either. After last year's World Series, it's kind of a season of like what happened to the Rangers, and maybe they're just feeling it from last year, and that very well could be the case. So with that being said, I'm going to say Seattle. Seattle's kind of like the guardians of their division, right? Like they always just put a competitive team out there. And yeah, they've had rough seasons, but they always just seem to be competitive and always seem to be on the cusp of either winning a division or making the playoffs. So I'll say the Mariners here.
I'm going with the Mariners as well, and I swear, listeners, I'm not just sitting here trying to agree with Kevin. I've thought about this a little bit ahead of time.
You should have picked first.
Yeah. I think I also put the Mariners under the same kind of category in line of thinking as Baltimore. I think they make a big move too. I think they'll look at a bat. I think they'll try to get a pretty premier bat, and I think they'll make a big push and they'll keep trying to add to that division lead. You can never really overlook Houston, but you know they've struggled a lot this year. They're starting to play a little bit better, but I think they maybe have dug themselves into a hole to where it's going to be tough for them to make it out of the division wild card. You never know, but Texas, they're a little bit hurt too. So I think that's just gonna not trying to use the same word here, but hurt them and hurt their chances for division title. And I think Seattle gets it done there too. So that wraps up the American League there. So looking at our 59% so far, we got one team that we think will not win the division, currently sitting in first place. Moving on to probably the easiest one we will have all day, the NL East. The Philadelphia Phillies currently have an 8-game lead over the Atlanta Braves. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's the Phillies. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time here. Phillies are going to win this division. and honestly, just because the Braves got hurt. If the Braves weren't hurt, then I think that they definitely compete for the division. I'd even probably pick them to win it. But yeah, it's the Phillies.
They're treading some water. I believe when Acuna got hurt, they were in a 6-game deficit. Now it's only 8. That's not terrible, but Phillies playing great baseball. They've been playing great baseball all year. I don't see that changing, so I'm going Phillies as well. Moving on here, we got the NL Central, where currently the Milwaukee Brewers have a 5-game lead over the Chicago Cubs and a 6-game lead over the St. Louis Cardinals. Your thoughts on the NL Central, Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's the Brewers. I hate to pick the favorite every time, but these teams are just playing well, right? And let's be honest, I'm not going to pick the Cubs. The Cardinals are having a down year, and you've got Pittsburgh and Cincinnati too. But I'm going to say the Brewers here. I also think that they're going to make some pretty big trade deadline moves, but I'll say Milwaukee.
So I smiled because I got something different here. I'm going with the Cubs. I think the Cubs are going to get a little bit of a boost here they already did, from the White Sox, where they'll give them some momentum. White Sox just got swept by the Cubs.
Everyone.
Everyone. we have been swept for a few weeks. So the old friendly momentum boost we're giving the North Siders, and I hate to sound like a broken record. I think the Cubs will make some moves here too. Their pitching's been pretty good so far. Their lineup, could be a little bit more consistent, but I think they'll start to figure it out. And just when you look on paper at who both teams currently have, I just like the Cubs' chances a little bit more than Milwaukee. I think they're a little bit more talented, and They obviously have a little bit more seasoned of a manager, even though Milwaukee's been a fun surprise this year. But I think the Cubs will do some damage, and I think they'll end up taking the Central there. But it's definitely got a hill to climb. Milwaukee's been playing fun. They've also been a surprise for a good reason so far this year. And last but not least, the NL West, where the Los Angeles Dodgers have a 7-game lead over the San Diego Padres and an 8-game lead over the San Francisco Giants. Your thoughts here?
I really want to pick the Padres. I really do, because I mean they're known for making big moves, right? I just don't see it happening. They haven't put the pieces together for. Obviously, Dylan Cease has pitched well, but it just seems like they're very inconsistent on a nightly basis. You never know what kind of team you're going to get from them. I'm going to say Dodgers here. They also have Shohei. They've got a lot of depth. They've got a lot of good young arms. So I just don't see how any team's going to top the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there are actually, even just looking outside of the NL West, many teams that would be able to surpass them in the standings, even if it wasn't 7 games. Dodgers are a good team. They're loaded. They're tough to beat. And, I think they'll end up walking away with that. And, so that's the end of our exercise there. So probably looks like we're maybe going to fall a little bit under that 59% threshold. We
failed the
here.
Exercise.
But, hey, there are outliers. It's okay. It doesn't always have to be 59%. That's just, roughly how many since 96. But I just feel like I feel like baseball this year, there's minus, like I said, the Brewers and Houston playing poorly. Brewers playing good, Houston playing poorly. Not a whole lot of surprises. I guess you could maybe throw Cleveland in the mix. I know some people were pretty low on them going into the year, but I think with a team that just produces pitching like crazy, you can always count on them to be at least decent. So
Diamondbacks too. You look at the Diamondbacks. Yes, they started out last season pretty slow, but they made the World Series. You would think they'd carry some of that momentum into this season, and they just haven't. They've looked pretty flat most of this year. I went to a Diamondbacks game. I probably should get that word out of my vocabulary. I went to a Diamondbacks game against the Tigers last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and they lost like 11-4. And that's just been kind of the summary of this season. So they're kind of a bummer this year.
Not good,
man.
He's on my fantasy team. Not good.
He's playing so poorly that somebody dropped him from my fantasy league, and I picked him up because I'm like, whatever. Luis Roberts on my IL. I could take a flyer on Corbin Carroll.
I think about it every week. He's been on my bench unless I have to play him. But I just, I'm holding out for hope. I also have Luis Robert too. And so I had to play Corbin Carroll a little bit while Robert was hurt. But anyways.
Man, can we talk about Corbin Carroll and Randy Arozarena? Both having really rough seasons this year. I did not expect that from Randy either.
It's a hard sport, man. Sometimes you can come in and feel like you're on top of the world for a few years, and then you can get humbled a little bit too. It's just pitchers are evolving. You're starting to see that with Paul Skeens and guys like him. He just kind of low-key carved up the Dodgers yesterday as a rookie, which is pretty impressive. But, it's hard. It's hard being a hitter. It's hard hitting a baseball, one of the hardest things to do in sports. And Randy Arozarena has been established for a little bit, so I'm sure he'll snap out of it. Corbin Carroll, he just got a big contract coming off one good year. Really hope that wasn't a fluke, but we'll
I didn't have Arozarena hitting 169. Nice. But I didn't have him hitting 169 at this point in the year. It's kind of crazy.
He's doing it on purpose. He likes
right.
that number.
He just has to keep going in quantities of 100. 169, 269, 369 would be ideal, but
if he gets to 369 by the end of the year, I will buy you every single one of his jerseys that are available to purchase.
Done.
That is Sean Williams' guarantee.
I'll remember that. I think that's it. That's really all we had for like national baseball stories. There was some actually, no, we can talk about this. There was some news that players got caught betting on gambling on baseball this year. One of the guys, his name is Tucapito something, And I know there was a Diamondbacks pitcher too, and I think there was one or two other guys. But just, I mean, you're an idiot. How do you not expect to get caught, especially after all the Shohei stuff happened? And like, yeah, you can't go back and cover up your actions, but like, how did you expect to to get away with this?
Well, one thing is I know. So one of the guys mentioned was Jose Rodriguez, who is a former White Sox prospect now with the Phillies organization. I know he was betting in like 2022, so this was before the Shohei news all happened and stuff like that. But I'm glad you brought this up because I forgot. So I picked up a new hobby recently where I'm collecting and trying to sell sports cards. Now, one of the cards I have, let me show you guys here. Who is that?
Wow.
That is Jose Rodriguez rookie card. And yeah, so I actually listed that a couple weeks ago, and I don't know. If you ask me, I think it might be worth triple now. Pretty cool, pretty rare. Maybe he'll buy it. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that this is happening. It's happening in other sports too. Jonte Porter's one. Calvin Ridley in the NFL. You know, obviously sports betting's legal. This is uncharted waters before. But listen, guys, like, don't bet on your own sport, and really, like, bet at home. Just if you want to bet, just bet at home, or have someone do it for you. Give someone like cash or something.
Bookie. Yeah, have a bookie.
Like, it's so easy to be tracked. Like, I'm a human being. I don't really do much for the world like these professional athletes do, and I'm like freaking out all the time thinking I'm getting tracked. Like, it's so easy to find anything that anyone is up to. It's just like, stay out of trouble, don't be stupid, and you know, and for some of these guys, they're not even big leaguers yet. It's like you still gotta reach that goal you've been playing your whole life for. It's like, why would you do anything to jeopardize that by choice too? You know, like, obviously people can make mistakes and things happen, but like gambling, like, you're committed, you know?
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, especially when you're at this stage. I mean, you do something like that, you're going to end up, you know, working in an oil field one day. And speaking of oil, let's talk about the Edmonton Oilers. How about that transition, Sean? We like that one?
2 out of 10. Corny.
All right, we tried.
No, that was good. That was good. Yeah,
What are
so
your
Edmonton. Thoughts? What are my thoughts?
Yeah,
Initial thought was we're idiots. That was thought number one. Shame on us for ever doubting Edmonton. Shame on us for doubting Florida too, but I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. You know, it was. I talked about it a little bit, and I ended it with talking about how resilient Dallas is. But I mean, Edmonton grabbed momentum early, and they kind of just held on to it throughout this series. And man, you know, I dogged him a little bit, but at the same time, I did say he was doing okay. I got to give a lot of credit to Stuart Skinner, their goalie.
Yeah.
He ended up playing unbelievable. He finished the series by giving up an average of 1.91 goals per game and a .924 save percentage. Both unbelievable numbers. And he did it against Dallas, who's, we've said before, a fantastic team. So just got to give a lot of props to Edmonton. And I know one of the things I talked about with them too is, you know, Connor McDavid just started playing well. He ended up having 10 points in the series. Like, if he's beating you that bad, you're probably losing the series. He ended up he was best player. He showed he's the best player in the world. 3 goals, 7 assists. And then I talked about getting production from guys like Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And those two specifically ended up being some of the top point getters on their team by the end of that series. So they kind of started, they were already doing pretty well as a team, Edmonton was, and then they started getting production from a little bit more of their guys that they're used to, and then that ultimately, I feel, and with Skinner's play, ultimately helped them take that series. But man, being down 2-1 and then just ripping off 3 wins in a row, That's pretty impressive, man. And it has me feeling some type of way with them in the Stanley Cup Finals now too.
Yeah. Yeah, McJesus just turned on the Jets, man. He's so fun to watch. And I think it's really exciting having him in the Stanley Cup final too, because like you said, he is the best player in the world right now. And he's like Patrick Kane on steroids, man. Like his stick is insane. So it'll be fun. I'm excited for it. Should we throw some predictions out there?
We'll do that after we talk about Florida too.
All right.
We'll just knock them both out and then we predict. Florida, just, the first thing I thought of was we're idiots again. And the second thing I thought of was, haha, Kevin said the Rangers were going to win 2 in a row. No. It was Florida. Just a good performance for them. That was a competitive series. They were in every game, obviously. They won the series. They also won 3 in a row after they were down 2-1. So mirror image of what Edmonton did there. Bobrovsky always is going to be helping him out. He still played tremendously throughout that series in net. He allowed 2 goals or less in 5 out of the 6 games. If you get something like that out of your goaltender, you have a really good chance to win every night. So he gave them a great chance. They're 2-headed, 3-headed monster. Sam Bennett and Carter Verhaeghe had 6 points in the series. They were kind of leading the way the whole time with Tkachuk at 5 points, not far behind. So their studs they helped them out tremendously. And then I was reading into some of their defensive abilities and things like that in this playoffs, and I want to go through this with you. This is pretty freaking impressive what the Panthers have, as a defense, has done primarily. So a lot of this has been led by Alexander Barkov and Gustav Forsling. So in each series, the Panthers have done an excellent job of shutting down opponents' stars. So for the New York Rangers, they held Artemi Panarin to 1 goal, and they held Zibanejad to 2 points on just 2 assists.
Wow.
The series before with the Boston Bruins, they held Pastrnak to 1 goal and Marchand to 2 points on just 2 assists. And then against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the opening round, they held Kucherov to 0 goals. Now he did have 7 assists, so he still had 7 points in the series, but he scored 44 goals in the regular season, and they held him to 0 in the playoffs. That is insane. What they're just decimating opposition star players, and I have to give them props for that. That's unbelievable. So, Florida, obviously a lot less of a surprise here that they're in the Stanley Cup final, even though we didn't predict them. They've been hot. They've been good all year. They've looked really good this postseason, and they're doing it on both ends of the ice. So, it should be a fun Stanley Cup. I'm looking forward to it. What are your thoughts on Florida?
It's like you talk about, they stopped all these stars along the way. I think that the fun story that this creates now is you stopped all these stars along your way to the Stanley Cup Finals, but can you stop the star?
No, they won't.
The best player in hockey. Can you stop the star? And I think it creates a fun storyline to watch. As far as my predictions go, I'm going to throw some reverse psychology on you, okay? So I went 0 for 4 between basketball and hockey. I still know about sports, I promise. I'm going to say Panthers in 6 because I secretly want the Oilers to win it all. Panthers in 6, book it.
Okay. I think the Panthers can win too. But man, I really want to go with Edmonton. I really do. But I got to start nailing some of these predictions. So you know what? I'm going Edmonton. I'm taking Edmonton in 7.
Hell yeah.
I'll take Edmonton in 7, and I will also say I will not be shocked if this is not accurate and Florida wins, because they absolutely could. I just got a notification. White Sox game started at 7:05. They're already down 1-0. So here we go. We're going for history. But yeah, no, I'm just excited Connor McDavid gets to play on the biggest stage in his sport. And I'm excited that people who don't watch hockey all the time but tune into the playoffs or tune into the Stanley Cup get a chance to see him. I think having a Stanley Cup atmosphere in Canada is going to be insane. So I'm thinking that might help him out a little bit, the Oilers that is, and I'll just roll with it. I'm going with my heart, and I'm going with Oilers in 7.
I like it. I mean, it'll be a fun one.
Yep.
And that starts, first game's on Saturday, right?
Saturday. Yep. I am going to try to watch as much of that as I can. It'll be cool. Florida's a fun team to watch too. I think we got a good combo here. Should be fun.
So from nets to nets, from hockey nets to basketball nets,
to the Brooklyn
let's
Nets.
talk about no, they don't deserve any airtime. Let's talk about the NBA Finals. We've got, man, it's like I'd like to call this series fun, but Boston's just kind of beat up on everybody along the way. And yeah, like, you know, we said the Pacers created games that were closer than they should have been, but like Boston just seems like they're a notch above everybody else. So the first game is tonight. I know it starts pretty soon here.
15 minutes.
Yeah. I really don't see a way how the Mavericks can win this. I really don't. And even if that means 7 games, fine. It seems like the Celtics are just a notch above every other opponent they play right now. And Dallas is playing some really, really damn good basketball, not baseball. Dallas is playing some really damn good basketball, right? yeah, basketball. But I think it's Boston. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said earlier, we're recording this on Thursday night. By the time anyone listens to this, game 1's already going to be done, so we won't really hit you with a well-established preview here. But I think Boston wins too. My heart wants me to pick Dallas. I can't go with 2 wild picks like that for these finals here. I think Boston gets it done. It just always seems like it was going to be Boston this year. In a season that had a little bit of roller coaster rides with some teams like the Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks. You know, Boston always kind of stayed consistent, always pretty much played really good basketball. It was hard to predict who was going to win the NBA Finals months ago, but if you would have asked most people, they would have said, well, I wouldn't be surprised if Boston did it. And, here we are. They got home court. One of the only interesting things I think about this finals is Boston actually is 6-2 at home, so their only losses this postseason are at home, and Dallas is 7-2 on the road. So home court might not be as big of a factor when you got Dallas playing as good as they do on the road. But the number one thing I am most excited for in this NBA Finals is Kyrie Irving playing in Boston again. Yeah. We're obviously gonna miss the start of this game 1, but the reception he's gonna get and the storylines with him throughout this series of him playing back in Boston, it's gonna be pretty entertaining. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it all unplays.
I think it makes for an interesting smack talk series too. You know, you've got Kyrie, you've got Luka. They've both been jawing quite a bit this postseason, so I think it'll make for a fun smack talk series too.
Yeah, I think Kyrie will kind of be a little bit more reserved. I think he's going to try to take a high road here just because of his burnout with Boston before. But those Boston fans, man, they're going to be after him. He's going to have to burn a lot of sage in that arena before each of these games. They're going to be ready.
Yeah. That's why I think they're both going to talk smack. I think Luka's obviously going to back him up, but who knows, man? It'll be fun. Boston fans are absolutely insane, so it'll make for a fun series. If I'm going to throw down a prediction, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, did you see Luka's fit before Game 1 today?
No.
He wore a tux because he means business.
Okay, Jesus, Luka. Okay, well, speaking of business, I think Celtics in 5.
I'll go 6. Celtics in 6.
Okay, I like it. There's been some other stories around the NBA too. I know. Typically lately for us, it's just been it's been a lot about just playoff talk. But Dan Hurley, man, talking to the Lakers about a head coaching position, and it seems like it's more than just let's entertain this conversation type of situation. It seems like he's really just sitting down, figuring out what he wants to do with his future. And to be honest, I think I would like that. I don't know how I feel about him as the Lakers coach as much as I like him out of college basketball, because he's just going to keep winning championships, man. It's just not fair having him as the coach of UConn. So I'm all for it. Do you think he's going to end up being the next head coach of the Lakers?
It certainly seems to be trending that way. It all started this morning with Woj dropping a bomb that the Lakers were seriously considering him and prepared to offer a long-term massive contract. And at first glance, I was just kind of like, that's interesting. I wonder if he'll bite. Well, it turns out this afternoon, it was reported that he told UConn, hey, and his players, he told them, hey, I just want to let you know I am talking to the Lakers, but we're going to keep, this is business as usual. Nothing's finalized. I haven't taken it. I'm just talking with them right now. There's still a lot to be ironed out, but we're still working here. Once he told his team, I thought that has some legs now.
Yep.
And it certainly seems to be moving towards they want to get something done. I thought I saw another update before we started recording here that it could be they're meeting tomorrow. That's what it is. Woj again just throwing out these bombs today. He said sides are expected to discuss the framework of a deal and what a partnership would look like tomorrow. That's Friday. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets ironed out before the end of the weekend, and I'm even going to say like maybe even tomorrow.
Dude, that's a done deal.
I just say the weekend because he might want to consult with some people. But real interesting here. This is why I love this rumor, especially coming from Woj, because you had Shams talking about how the Lakers were all in on JJ Redick. They were seriously considering him. It was always JJ Redick. And then you got Woj dropping a bomb this morning saying, nuh-uh, it has always been Dan Hurley. He's been the guy since day one. They've only had their eyes on him. And I'm like, I love this battle between them two. But I think he would be a good fit for it. This is going to sound really weird the way I'm going to say this. LeBron is the most talented basketball player in the world. And I also think he's one of the hardest players to coach in the world. If you don't get it right with him, he'll get you fired. No doubt about it. Yeah. It's tough to take a job like that, but I think someone with the intensity and the passion and the mentality and the work ethic that Dan Hurley has is someone that LeBron could get behind, someone that LeBron could trust, and someone that LeBron would want to play for. So I think he is a really good fit for the job, as opposed to like JJ Redick, who maybe would be better suited for another team, not the Lakers, if you're trying to get into coaching.
Yeah, I think it's Dan Hurley because, leading up to this, it was JJ Redick. He's going to be the next coach. He's the heavy favorite, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden you hear Dan Hurley out of nowhere. It's like the only reason this story is coming out in the first place is because he's actually the heavy favorite. And it just goes to show if they're meeting tomorrow, well, there you go. That's going to be, here's the numbers, here's the years. Okay, cool. Can't wait to see you in LA.
Yeah, I mean, it was rumored he was interested in Kentucky, and then that never materialized, and I think he even came out and said like I didn't even like meet with them or anything, but like we've never heard him mentioned as a finalist or the guy or whatever, So yeah, I would be surprised at this rate if it doesn't get done, but crazier things can happen, and then hey, that opens up another door. UConn's a premier program. Can't be more premier right now than coming off back-to-back national titles. So maybe Calipari will jump over there and leave Arkansas. You never know.
It could make the transfer portal really interesting. I know that much.
Yeah. They're losing some guys, but obviously, UConn they don't rebuild. They just retool, and they would have been good no matter what. But yeah, I just like the domino effect that it creates. Hey, maybe they'll take Billy Donovan. That'd be a good hire if you ask me.
Please, God, yeah. and his son while they're at it.
No. His son's gonna replace him.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. Billy can stay then. Speaking of Kentucky, we've got Kentucky in the running here for the College Baseball World Series. This is something I don't pay super close attention to college baseball, so I'll let you take this conversation on a little bit heavier than me. I have a prediction on who I think will win it all, but I'm going to let you dive into what happened so far with the regionals just wrapping up.
Yeah, so NCAA baseball regional tournaments wrapped up last weekend. We got super regionals starting tomorrow, and let me tell you, regional weekend was crazy. So there were a ton of upsets. For those who might not be familiar with the way the college baseball playoff landscape works, this is technically the NCAA tournament for college baseball. It started with regionals. Now, the way regionals work is it's 4 teams go to a region, the highest seed. So a lot of times that's the nationally ranked team. They'll be the host team. They'll host all the games throughout the weekend. They get home field, whatever, cool, fun. So it's 4 teams that go to a region, double elimination. The winner moves on to the super regional. Everyone else, their season's over. So regionals just started, and it was awesome. There were a ton of upsets. I'll kind of go through some of them here. So we had Evansville came out of a region that had number 16 Eastern Carolina and Wake Forest. So that's pretty impressive.
I love that.
UConn came out of a region that had number 9 Oklahoma and Duke. Kansas State came out of a region that had number 5 Arkansas. West Virginia came out of a region that had number 13 Arizona. Florida came out of a region that had number 11 Oklahoma State. Oregon came out of a region that had number 14 UC Santa Barbara. And those were the main upsets that I looked at. Also want to mention, too, on paper it's not an upset. Nonetheless, I still think it's impressive, and I still think it's worth bringing up. Number 4, North Carolina knocked out LSU. North Carolina was the host of that region. LSU is the defending national champions, so even though it's not technically an upset, still props to North Carolina for knocking out the defending champs. We get a new champ this year. That's great.
Yep.
So that brings up super regionals here. And now for those unfamiliar with how super regionals work, it's just 2 teams that play, and it's a best of 3 series. Best of 3 series. So win 2, and you move on to the College World Series in Omaha that everyone is probably more familiar with. So
it's like the Sweet 16.
I'll list the matchups here, Kev, and we can go down and make our picks here one by one, and then if you want to tell me who you think's going to win it all, we can do that. So let's start at Evansville is playing at number 1 Tennessee. Who do you got there?
Tennessee, hands down.
Yep, I do as well. Then we got UConn at number 8 Florida State. Who do you got there?
I'll take Florida State.
Okay, I have Florida State as well. Kansas State at number 12 Virginia.
I'm going to say an upset here. I'm going to say Kansas State.
I'm going to take Virginia. We got West Virginia at number 4 North Carolina.
UNC, easy.
I got West Virginia there. Yep. We got number 15 Oregon State at number 2 Kentucky.
Kentucky. I know they've been a favorite for a while, so I'm going to say Kentucky.
I'm going to go Oregon State.
You dog.
Yeah, Oregon State's premier program. Historically great. Kentucky, they've just been good for a few years. I think the stage might be a little bit too big for them. I think Oregon State can handle that business. And the Beavers are going to upset the Wildcats. Moving on here, we got number 10 NC State at number 7 Georgia. I'm taking NC State. And that one, who are you taking?
Yep, I had NC State too.
Perfect. And then, here we go. Florida at number 6 Clemson. Who you got?
Clemson, baby. Clemson. Do it for me, please.
I'm going to clip that, and I'm going to hold that forever. And when you guys play Clemson in football, I'm going to play it on repeat for you. I'm taking Florida. And I'm not just doing it because I like Florida. They've actually been really hot lately. I think they're going to keep riding that wave, and I think they'll – it's kind of like Oklahoma State. I didn't think that was a big upset. I don't think this would be that big of an upset either. So I'm taking Florida there. And then last but not least, we got Oregon at number 3, Texas A&M. Who you got?
I'm going to take Oregon here.
Okay, I'm going to go with A&M. And then you said you got a prediction. Who's winning it all?
Sean, I've got something for you. This is who I think is going to win it all. The only team to win 50 games this year.
It's funny
Your favorite song.
It's funny you say that because, and don't get me wrong, brother, this hurts. This hurts real bad. But it's funny you pick them of all teams because the team I'm picking, they're playing Tennessee, game 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it really hurts, but I'm not even going to say their full name. FSU, they have been a solid baseball team from day one. They got some good prospects, some premier prospects heading into the draft. They got a couple guys that are possibly top 10, top 15 picks. And yeah, I think they'll make some noise. I think they're a team that could win it all. And if it's not them, I think Texas A&M's got a good chance too.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I like that there's honestly these matchups are a ton of fun, and
Yeah.
I don't think that college baseball, what we call it, playoffs or college baseball World Series gets enough coverage. Honestly,
really
if you're a
fun.
baseball fan, it really is. If it's definitely on the bucket list for me. If you're a baseball fan, you definitely should tune in. It's a lot of fun. And look at what Paul Skeens did last year for it. You know what I mean? Like, he dominated the landscape and just yeah. Should I keep telling you more about Paul Skeens and SEC baseball? But
No.
yeah, I think it'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to where Florida's had a lot of deep runs, and that always makes it more exciting. But it's just the atmosphere there in Omaha. There's nothing like it. And honestly, during the regular season too, you watch some of these SEC, ACC schools, and just like Arkansas, for example, it's just insane how much these students and these fans pack out for college baseball games. And obviously, it's not easy to watch because you got to have ESPN Plus and you got to have like a SEC network or ACC network on top of that too. But it's just it's a really fun product. It's definitely gotten a lot better over the years, and you know, I've come to really enjoy watching college baseball, and lately I've even been getting into college softball too. I've been really catching myself enjoying that as well. I've been watching a lot of the Women's College World Series this year, and yeah, it's just, you know, I always say like college kids got a lot to play for, and it's fun seeing those atmospheres and stuff. But Omaha is second to none in terms of college baseball. That place is awesome, and I want to go check it out sometime too.
Sounds like we should do our next pod there. Well,
Yeah,
that's
only if
that's
Florida
it.
makes I'll dress you up in the orange and blue, and we'll get you a gator head.
My flight will be canceled. That's it as far as national coverage goes. This is typically when we start to venture into Chicago sports radio, and I don't think we have a ton to talk about necessarily, but there are some really big stories here. First one, we can start out. Well, first and foremost, had to show the new merch, Caleb Williams. I'm already repping you. I think the first.
Sorry to cut you off. I got a Caleb Williams USC T-shirt. I actually thought about wearing it today, but I didn't end up doing it. My wonderful girlfriend Michaela bought me this shirt, and
looks nice.
I was like, yeah, I thought so too. And I was like, you know what? I will wear it on the podcast for her because I am a man of the people.
Michaela, you better listen to this podcast, girl. He's wearing his T-shirt for you.
I'm not going to say nothing. We'll see. She notices. She could probably hear me in the other room, but
yeah. So
that is
speaking
a cool
of
shirt too. Sorry, first time here, but that's a cool shirt.
Thank you. The Bears, and it was announced that they're going to be featured on Hard Knocks. Adam Schefter reported that, so it seems like they're going to be featured as the training camp team for the upcoming season.
Yep.
Now, this is the part I was confused about. So when they say training camp team, is Hard Knocks just only going to include training camp, or are they also going to follow them around this season?
Not the Bears. They're following around other teams too. So I know there's training camp and regular season. I want to say there's one other leg of the schedule they follow a team around for. Maybe it's 2 regular season teams. I can't remember exactly, but yes, to clarify, they are only filming the Bears for training camp. So once I'm sure they'll go into the preseason, but once the regular season starts, that's it. Cameras are off. They're gone.
Okay. Then this changes my mindset on it because I thought it was also venturing into the regular season. I kind of love this. Before I felt the polar opposite. I didn't like it at all because I thought I was going to mess with Caleb Williams' development. But the Bears are a really fun team to follow right now, and not even being biased. You've got look at their offense that they've built. You've even got some new tools on defense, but I think it'll be a really fun series to follow. Maybe that's just because we're Bears fans and it's exciting to us, but when you've got a quarterback like Caleb Williams that was as highly recruited and highly touted as he was, why wouldn't you want to see how he ventures into the NFL and how he adapts during training camp? I think it's going to be a fun series.
Yeah, I'm excited for having something to watch as we get ready for the regular season, getting that behind the scenes look at Caleb Williams and stuff. But I will say I'm a little nervous for the distraction that it could cause him going into his rookie season. We've seen in the past the media has kind of painted him as a diva and a guy that has a bad attitude and almost like a villain in a sense. And I'm sure you have too. And I myself have done extensive backgrounds on just watching interviews, learning more about Caleb Williams, the person, and less about the athlete, and came to quickly realize, like, he's a good dude. A lot of people love him. His teammates love him. He cares about others. I was like, I can't believe people portrayed him to be such a bad guy because he couldn't be further from that. And him going into the NFL, I worry that there could be some sort of edit with the film where it sort of makes him look like that again. And I wouldn't want to see him have to deal with that as he's getting ready for his rookie year. But, obviously that's just me assuming that they're going to do that. They might not. But also to kind of pair with that too, I think mentally he can handle it and it won't really like bother him, but it's just almost like an unnecessary distraction. But overall, kind of excited to just get that behind the scenes look and to have something to get ready for this season. Cause we'll have the preseason, whatever, but like, I'm really going to be itching to get to that Tennessee game week 1.
Yeah. I think if the NFL tries to create that script of Caleb Williams being the evil guy, I think Poles is going to come out and be like, listen, like that was just film. You know what I mean? Like that was just media being media and putting out a story. So I'm not too worried about that because I think our front office has his back enough to where they'll set the record straight if they have to. But DJ Moore had a camp in the Chicagoland area over the weekend, and Caleb Williams just showed up unannounced. And
yeah.
You've seen him in the media. He's going to baseball games with his teammates. He was in a bar in Chicagoland, and Bears fans were chanting "Green Bay sucks," and he's just sitting there enjoying it.
Our king, baby.
And, yeah, man. Yeah, I think it's time to just give this guy some grace and just let him be the pro that he's going to be. And I think that's really it.
There's one thing that I've noticed with him, especially in the public scene, where he's at the Cubs game, and it was mostly shown at the Cubs game because a much bigger crowd there. I can't seem to figure out why, but much bigger crowd there than at the White Sox game. And obviously at the bar and stuff, is like he can handle these moments. Like he loves having the light on him, and he handles it extremely well. Like seeing him like get up at Wrigley and stand up and do the bear claw in front of everyone, and like seeing him clapping at the bar and pumping his fists and stuff, I was like, this is freaking awesome. I was like, I didn't think I could like this guy more, but I'm liking him more and more with each video that comes out. When the fans were chanting "Green Bay sucks," I was like, I might get a tattoo. I don't know what to do now. I have all these.
That's
feelings.
Our brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool. I think he's had a lot of fun with the media. And granted, it's all positive media right now. Like that could change once he starts playing games, but I think he's had enough practice with his time at USC and the spotlight on him, even at Oklahoma too. So I think he'll be fine. Another big story. So a press release came out, and it was stating that the Chicago Sports Network is going to launch in October across multiple platforms with the plans of delivering Chicago Blackhawks, Chicago Bulls, and White Sox games to the widest audience possible. So it's going to be called CHSN, and it's going to deliver more than 300 live Blackhawks, Bulls, and Sox games annually, along with first-class pre- and post-game coverage and 24/7 multi-sport programming. Obviously, there's a lot to digest there. What are your thoughts?
Cool, I guess. Like, there's
Yeah.
still so much that has to be uncovered to really
Yeah.
have a formulated opinion on this, but I will say, like, the broadcast and, like, TV network and it is all it's all changing, so I think adapting to that is not a bad thing. Now, I have heard some rumblings that this might go, and it won't matter for me because and you, because we're out of state, we got to pay to watch our teams no matter what. That this may bump up a tier of cable. So instead of being on like the basic package or the middle package that everyone has, this might be on the superior package, causing people to have to pay a little bit more money. Wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being that way because, we always need more money, especially sports teams. They're just so dire and just not doing well that they need to make more money. But I think that'll be disappointing. Yeah. But overall, like, hey, you're adapting to the way things are and the ever-changing landscape of TV broadcasting and streaming and stuff. So that's always a good thing. I'm just, like I said, not a whole lot of information on it right now. There is a little bit, which I'm sure we'll get into, but just kind of excited to see all this come together and kind of what they decide to do and how they're going to present it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just we won't really know too much until we see the product that's put out and who's involved. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of good broadcasters out there in Chicago. I know CHGO has some good guys. The Athletic has plenty of good guys. So it'll be interesting to see who gets involved and how they include certain top names around the Chicagoland area. Now, Blackhawks more specifically, I'll let you dive into the details here. But they announced that Rick Ball is going to take over the TV play-by-play duties, joining Darren Pang. What's your takeaway?
This is a good thing. This is a good thing for the Blackhawks. You hate to see someone lose their job, especially as quickly as Chris Vosters, the former play-by-play guy, lost his. I watched the Blackhawks a lot. I caught myself a lot of times not listening to their broadcast just because I had a hard time doing it.
Yep.
Chris Vosters, he's a good guy from what I've heard. People have said a lot of nice things about him today. The news came out today, and seems like he has a lot of people in his corner. Also, maybe seems like this Blackhawks gig was maybe a little bit too tall of a task for him and where he's at in his career. And it kind of reflected in the product a little bit. I'm usually not super nitpicky and can sit through broadcasts and stuff, but a lot of times with him, I just was like, I really can't do it. And he was given a tough card too, or a tough hand, I should say. Team's been very bad since he's been there. It's hard to call bad teams, but I just think he was put in a tough situation and with this ever-changing landscape, that played a factor. And I also think the Blackhawks listened pretty heavily to fans here because I know there are a lot of fans out there that were not pleased with their broadcasting and what they were doing there. So I think they listened. And, Rick Ball should be good. He's got 25 years of broadcast experience coming from Canada where he's done Hockey Night in Canada, which is a big little event they do there for the NHL, and then he worked with the Calgary Flames for 10 seasons too, and got to call some important games with them. So hopefully he's calling some important games in Chicago too. But I've listened to a little bit of Rick Ball here since this news dropped, and he seems like he should be able to win over the Blackhawks fans.
It's about time they bring some excitement back to Blackhawks hockey.
Stop it.
Pedro would be one to call him flat, and that's kind of just what watching the games felt like. So it'll be. I listened to a couple games that he broadcasted to, and he sounds exciting. Rick Ball, that is. He sounds exciting. He's obviously very enthusiastic. He's got plenty of experience, and he's got experience in Canadian hockey too, which is a whole different beast. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll be fun. I'm curious on how it'll change the viewership of Blackhawks games, but I think that's in a positive light. So, anything else on the Blackhawks before we shift to White Sox talk?
If you want to touch on it a little bit, I know you saw or you found a report where it mentioned the Blackhawks were picked as a favorite landing spot for Jake Gensel.
Yep. Yeah. There's been multiple reports that have been put out in regards to that. And I don't know if it's just because the Blackhawks are going to have money to spend and he seems like an obvious answer. But I think I've seen now like 3 or 4 reports of his name being linked to the Blackhawks.
Yeah, it's obviously would be a welcomed addition. He's a guy that's been around the league for a while. He's played with Sidney Crosby for years. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's put up just under a point per game in like 67 playoff games. So obviously, he can score goals in the regular season. He's put up 36 goals in 2022, 30 goals in 2023, 30 goals total this past year, 40 goals in 2021. So the guy can score. The guy's shown he can play in the playoffs too. He doesn't disappear when the most important games on the calendar hit. And obviously the Blackhawks are in a situation where they got to start prioritizing winning a little bit more, and this would be something that would side with that reasoning and that idea that they want to start trying to do here. I think it'd be great. It would be a welcomed addition to the team. Like I said, I just feel like he'll have a pretty good market, and I feel like there's no sure thing he'll end up in Chicago, obviously. But we'll see. They definitely have the money to make it happen, and I'm sure he'll be interested in the idea of playing with Connor Bedard, and that'd be a pretty big guy to add to our forward mix here.
Yeah, I think it's the same mindset of like people linking Saquon Barkley to the Bears early in the offseason because we've got the money, we have the need. It could make a lot of sense. It's like, okay, yeah, but like, is he going to want to come here? And who knows? We'll see. We'll see if he does. Shifting to White Sox talk, they're down 3-0 in the second inning. So it looks like we may set a new record. I think now it'll be. Will this be a new record, or will this be tied?
I've heard this is going to be a new record, and I've heard it's not. So
okay. So it'll either be a new longest losing streak or tied for the longest losing streak. I know it dates back to 1924. So oh man, are we doing big things on the South Side?
Yeah, they just tied the record from 1924 last night. So they already tied that one. 100 years. Wow.
Okay. so they're going to be
How about it?
Okay. Yeah, it feels that way too. Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting stories here. One of them we actually didn't mention that we wanted to talk about, but Baseball America came out with a top 100 prospects list again, and with the White Sox being as bad as they are, trading some of their top players, obviously they have to have prospects. So their top prospects in the Baseball America top 100 that just came out yesterday, I believe, on Wednesday. They've got Noah Schultz sitting at number 9. That dude has looked insane. Colson Montgomery sitting at number 12. Drew Thorpe sitting at 41. And Edgar Caro sitting at 90. I wouldn't be surprised to see Iriarte come out on the next list. But as far as, prospects goes, 9, 12, 41, and 90, that's pretty nice for the White Sox. It's just, when are we going to be done talking about prospects?
To kind of put it into perspective for you, Baseball America is a very, very, very reputable source for baseball knowledge. They're experts in it. They've been doing it for years. To show you, Kevin, and our listeners who are White Sox fans, how high they view Noah Schultz, putting him at 9. Chris Sale and Michael Kopech were never top 10 prospects in the sport. So
yeah,
they view Noah Schultz as someone who's more of a premier prospect than both of them, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm excited about him. I know he's kind of got a funny pitching motion though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a funky delivery, but he's a big, tall, lanky guy too, which doesn't help. It's a lot of levers moving around there.
Yeah, you just gotta hope he stays healthy. But yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. I thought it was kind of fun because being the White Sox, we do look at our prospects. But if we go back to the major league team, some funny stories. One, I wanted to make sure we touched on is Tommy Pham just being ready to fuck somebody up, man, in that series in Milwaukee. I absolutely love it. Obviously, he's going to be a big trade candidate at the trade deadline, but for him to produce on the field and just be ready to beat somebody up, when he has a collision at home plate, I'm all for it. Tommy Pham, I love you. I love you on this team, but man, you're going to make a team really happy in the playoffs.
If I were the GM, I'd give him a lifetime contract, but I'm not
Same.
the GM, and I can't give him a lifetime contract. Right as that was going on during the Brewers game, I tweeted that Tommy Pham showed more fight in one game than the White Sox have all season.
Yeah, he didn't look flat.
No, the edge he has brought this team and his leadership in the clubhouse and his no BS nonsense type attitude that he has is something that the White Sox needed. And I feel like even though it's short-lived, his tenure here, because he is undoubtedly going to get traded, I think his impact will remain with the team for a little bit, even though he'll be gone. I wish he could stick around longer. I think a lot of people probably feel that way. I'm sure he's become a fan favorite, but it's hard not to love the guy when the scuffle's been over for 5-10 minutes and he's walking away and he's like fighting air. It's like this dude rocks, man.
That's my guy.
I wish we could line up with 9 Tommy Phams. If we didn't win on the scoreboard, we would win in the fight. And you know what? Yeah. Who even cares about the scoreboard? All that matters is winning the fight.
Dude, Barstool would be nothing but Tommy Pham. Sean, I have a solution for you on how we can keep Tommy Pham forever. You ready?
Offer him a lifetime contract.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. So we'll trade him in the offseason. Well, not the offseason. We'll trade him during the trade deadline, get whatever we can get for him. Okay? And then in the offseason, we're gonna fire Pedro, and Tommy Pham is actually gonna coach our team. and he gets a lifetime contract coaching the White Sox. Because, I mean, honestly, man, when you think about it, he'd be a hell of a coach in baseball, too. You know what I mean? Like, he just seems to know how to rally guys. He seems to know how to get guys around him to actually give a shit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him leading a team in the future.
He'd be a great hitting coach. You know what I'm saying? Hit the
in the box and out. Yeah. I love it. I mean, I think it made for a funny story, so we had to talk about it. But man, last night, oh God, I hate that we even have to talk about this because of how frustrating the games were. I guess we could call it got swept by the Cubs, even though it was only a 2-game series. But both games were 7-6. Both games were blown by the bullpen, and the Sox just not knowing how to take that lead back. And there's a common theme there this year too. So, is there anything that you noticed that's any different than what we've been talking about for 5 weeks now?
Yeah, Rick Hahn somewhere is laughing, thinking this never happened when I splurged on bullpen pieces.
yeah.
No,
it's true.
It's the same old broken record, and I know players even use that terminology in recent interviews, talking about trying to win a freaking baseball game. It just sucks. As fans sitting down and watching this team, and granted, we don't have to watch them, but I like to. And just, you get excited for an early lead. I know you were texting me a little bit during that game when Corey Lee was driving runs in and stuff, and then just seeing it unravel and night after night and like losing, 13, 14 games in a row just gets very tiresome. But I think as fans, it's just gotten to the point where like we need to see some freaking accountability from this front office and this stupid freaking owner that we have. The fact that he just keeps letting this train wreck drive itself further and further and further into the ground and continues to let Pedro Grifol touch this baseball team and have an effect on this baseball team is absolutely ridiculous. And there's been quotes all the time, every year. No one wants to win more than Jerry. Jerry cares about winning. Jerry really wants to build a winner. Well, if he wanted to build a damn winning baseball team, he would fire this freaking clown of a coach and have Charlie Montoya run the rest of the season, because he can at least do better than this. Like, this is truly the worst I think I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm 30 years old, and I was around for Tony La Russa to manage the White Sox. Like, yeah. It's just like it's pathetic. Every single night that they let this guy manage this team and run this dugout is just another night of where you're just wasting major league seasons for guys and wasting their time by having them play for a manager who they probably don't care about.
No,
I don't think anyone does. And it's just like, I'll still sit down and watch him, but like, damn, like, is it just exhausting having to freaking see his face in the dugout and then hear him say stupid crap about, oh, we're so close. We're playing so good now. We are so good. You're not close to shit, Pedro. You've lost 13 games in a row. Like, you have shown, the only thing you've shown consistency wise is you can lose and you can be a laughing stock. Congratulations. Like, it's just, I don't know, I'm fed up with it.
Close doesn't win you championships, man. And I will say, one thing that truly blows my mind, and Jerry Reinsdorf is absolutely elite at it. I don't know how he continues to get away with this, but he is elite at dodging the media. You never see this guy talk to Chicago media, even in a scenario like this.
Yeah,
that's the thing. He is elite at dodging the media, but you still see owners of other teams who are struggling or playing well. You still see them talking to the media, or at least giving them quotes. And he's got people that are plugged in with him in the Chicago media. He could feed them quotes if he wanted to, but he doesn't, and he's dodged it for years.
The fact that he made Rick Hahn sit at a press conference talking about Tony La Russa when everyone knew that was Jerry's choice of manager just goes to show you how loyal and great of an owner Jerry Reinsdorf is. He's letting everyone else get their hands and legs and heads cut off, getting eviscerated for doing just laughable things when he's the one driving those decisions, and he's just hiding away because he can. I'm the owner. I don't have to talk to anyone here. You go do this PR stuff. I don't care for it. But yeah, I really want to build a winner, and I'm going to hold everyone accountable.
Yeah, he's like feeding people lines on, here's what you need to say about me today, which is bullshit and annoying. But yeah, that's enough about Jerry. The Sky have some interesting news points. So Chicago Sky, Cardoso finally made her debut. I know you've been tuning in. You've been tuning into the Sky. There's been a lot of media with Angel Reese. Yeah. A lot of stuff going on with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and then just today there was some news about there was some guy who got in the girls' faces at a hotel. So, do you want to talk about Chicago Sky and what you've seen?
Yeah. So obviously the most exciting thing is Cardoso making her debut. She had 11 points and 6 rebounds in her debut, and then Tuesday night she played again. Didn't really do a whole lot. Didn't really shoot much. I think she took 2 shots, had 1 point off a free throw, and 5 rebounds. But she's looked pretty good. They are playing right now, and let's see how she's doing here. Okay, she's shot 1 for 4, 2 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Just 1 foul, so that's nice. Angel Reese, double-double. I think that's 2 in a row. Some might say best player in WNBA history. Not me. Just some things I've heard. But it's good to see their 2 rookies are back. Or not, I shouldn't say they're back. They're playing now. One thing I've noticed is they haven't gotten a lot of time on the court together. So that's kind of been leaving a little bit to be desired. I'm sure that'll happen at some point. Obviously, Cardoso's got to get conditioning done, and she was out, get back into the basketball shape and get acclimated to the game situations, get her feet wet, all that good stuff. And I'm sure we'll start seeing more of them. But just regardless, it's nice to see them finally have their team together and get to see these 2 rookies that should be big pieces of the future. But then, obviously the other news is is the Caitlin Clark stuff where I believe her name is Kennedy Carter checked Caitlin Clark pretty hard in a game, and so I will say I thought that was a little aggressive. Some were saying it was assault. Now, I don't know in what world we live in where that's assault. I think that's a little extreme. It was definitely unnecessary. Could have gone without it, but it just made me kind of open my eyes and realize like Caitlin Clark has a big target on her back since she's been in the WNBA, and she's been getting a lot of shit from a lot of different people, and it's kind of unfortunate to see because as far as I know, she kind of just keeps to herself, doesn't really talk much. I could be wrong about that, but just from what I've seen. But it seems like everyone is just like kind of upset with her for how good for women's basketball she is. She has definitely grown the sport a lot, especially the college game and now really the WNBA. I mean, when you talk like they're moving venues to get more people in to see this player, like that's pretty impressive. You don't see that too often. So I think there's some jealousy and going on with other players and stuff, but I see their perspective too. Like obviously it doesn't just take one player to do all those kinds of things too. It's not just one act. There's a whole bunch of different acts in a show and stuff like that. But I know one of those players is Angel Reese. I don't know if you saw what she was saying or any of your comments. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't love her comments, if I'm being totally honest. And I know she talked about, all these people saying people come to see Caitlin Clark and what she's done for the game and what she's brought to the WNBA. And she's like, but people come to see me too. And it's like, okay, Angel, you're right. But I think that there's a much better way to deliver that message. I think it's like yes, we're grateful for Caitlin for what she's done for the game. It's also put a lot of eyeballs on LSU women's basketball and given me the opportunity to seek marketing opportunities. So I think that there's a better way to go about that message. But that's also just Angel Reese. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she's just got that badass attitude to her. So you can't change who she's going to be. I just think that there was a better way to deliver it.
Yeah, one thing that I really respect about Angel Reese is she's not afraid to speak her mind, and she will always say how she truly feels. It's just sometimes that's not always a good thing to say how you feel in certain situations, and this was maybe one of them, or maybe could have looked at a different angle to take or perspective to give that from. But it's just a lot of nonsense. Like this will all blow over eventually. I think it's just so big and prominent because Caitlin Clark is a rookie and she's just getting acclimated to the WNBA and things like that. And honestly too, I think a lot of it had to be with her struggling a little bit when she first started. If she came in and lit the world on fire, I don't even think people would be saying this stuff, to be honest with you. But I think it's the fact that she did struggle a little bit and people are like, oh my God, they're still talking about her. Like, yes, they always will too. Like, she's talented. She has every NCAA record pretty much. For men and women for scoring, it's like she's a legend of the game. She's always going to be talked about. Yeah. It's going to be okay. You can build your legacy too. Like, you don't got to be an all-timer to be a great WNBA player or NBA player or athlete in general. Like, you can write your own story too. Like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. It's the thing where it's like, yes, while there was LeBron, let's call it 5 years ago, just dominating the NBA, there was also still Steph Curry, and I think it's the same mentality here. It's like Angel Reese can still be a beast in the WNBA and still be a big name in the WNBA, and Caitlin Clark can dominate. You know what I mean? Like they both can coexist. It's just they've got a little rivalry between them, and that's fine. Sean, some White Sox news actually just came in. First and foremost, George Wolko hit his first home run, and apparently it's a bomb. I haven't watched the video yet, but John Heyman, White Sox are actively seeking packages for Luis Robert Jr. We might have some news for you. Yeah, we might have some news for you next episode. I know we've gone a little bit over here today, so we won't dive into it too much. Hopefully something happens between now and the next episode, even just to keep us entertained. But what's up?
Another report, too. Jeff Passan said that Garrett Crochet, Luis Robert, Eric Fetty, Michael Kopech, pretty much anyone you could name on the roster. He wrote this, so this is a different report than when he went on that Seattle radio. Earlier this week, he said they are willing to entertain offers for anyone. So we said, it would be unfortunate to lose some of these guys, but at least they picked a direction and they're sticking to it. So good for them for actually entertaining this idea. It would suck not having Luis Robert because that dude's got all the talent in the world, but you can also get a really big package for him that'll help your team down the line, and go for it, man. Do it.
All those guys are really the only reason baseball's entertaining for White Sox fans. But Chris Getz, now's your time to shine. Let's see what you got. Let's see the packages you can get. You already had an opportunity with Dylan Cease. It's looking like it's paying off right now. So now's your time to shine. Let's see what you can get in return.
Chris, if you're listening, I'm going to suggest something to you here. Now, this is very important, and I need you to listen closely. I'm giving you the opportunity to work from home, okay? Now, you don't need to work at the White Sox Stadium anymore if that's where your office is. I'm going to assume it is. Don't worry about it. I'll get some movers. We'll bring your stuff home. That's part number one. Now, number two is I'm going to need to borrow your phone. I'm going to have to delete Jerry's number, and now I'm going to allow you to make whatever moves you want to make. You don't need his approval. He said everything's cool. You can do whatever you want to do. Trade the pieces that you want to trade and just go for it. So congratulations, Chris. Can't wait to see what you're going to do.
And Chris, one more thing. You need to show up on the pod. We're going to invite you. You're going to show up. You're going to talk White Sox baseball. Let us know. Give us all the insider information. But as far as sports talk, that's all we have for you guys tonight. This episode did run a little bit longer, so we appreciate you hanging out with us. Again, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Feel free to share the podcast with family, with friends. Send us a message if you want us to talk about anything in particular. But we will definitely have a packed episode each week. So if you don't send messages, that's fine. We're going to have a lot to talk about. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great weekend. This will probably go live on Friday. So have a great weekend. Be safe, and we will talk with you next week. See you guys.